Welcome to the Corpse Club, the official podcast of DailyDead.com. I am one of your co-hosts, Derek Anderson, and I am thrilled to be joined today by fellow co-host Scott Drebit. Thank you for joining me today, Scott. How are you doing?
What? Who? Yes. Oh, that's me. It has been.
That's you.
I have to announce because it has been a minute.
It has.
As we like to say these days, not that we measure anything in normal incremental time anymore.
No.
In our post-toasty world of excitement. I'm good, my friend. It is wonderful to hear your voice again. Although we have been chatting for the past 45 minutes as a little warm-up, realizing we probably could have started half an hour ago, but that's okay because I don't think we're going to run out of things to talk about. It is, as always, an exciting time for horror, and it is always great to talk to you, and for a special reason, especially, as we're going to talk about books.
Yes.
Just offer up that sentence before I say the word books and writing. That's just pathetic and sad. But yeah, we're going to have a little book club mini episode a little bit later on that I'm super, super excited to talk about. And of course, you're going to start us off with the little girl who could, the little ingenue who could. What's her name again?
That would be M3GAN with a 3 instead of an E.
With the 3. One of the things we were discussing off camera was the 3, in that they're starting off with the third movie already.
It's a bold move. It's kind of like Star Wars Episode 4, right? It's like just jumping right into it, and we'll get 3. We'll get
painting
2.
yourself in a corner, though, isn't it? It's really you're starting off by kissing Leah right in the first episode, and then you got to try to unpaint your way out of that corner later on. I'm just saying, if they had confidence in their product, you should have saved that 3 for the third movie.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting 2 prequel movies now at some point in the future. Because I know they've announced M3GAN 2.0, which will be the sequel to M3GAN with the 3 in the title. So we're having fun with the titles already with this franchise. So that's going to be half the fun, is just seeing how that progresses as long as we keep getting new M3GAN movies. And if you're listening to this episode, you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, you already talked about M3GAN on the previous episode. And you would be correct, because Jonathan and I did talk a little bit about M3GAN, but since Jonathan had not seen it and Scott has, we are going to be at the liberty of diving into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen M3GAN yet, at some point we will get into some spoilers, and I'll at that point I will give a last warning if you want to bail out and then come back into the episode later. But before we get to the spoilers, Scott, I would just love to hear kind of what your initial thoughts were when you saw M3GAN as you were walking out of the theater and just kind of digesting that experience for the first time.
I think, and Michelle and I went, and I think both of our reaction was the same, which was we really enjoyed it. It was, and that's due, for me personally, due to a little bit of altered expectations, because knowing that it was from the writer of *Malignant*, Akela Cooper, I was maybe expecting something a little wilder, that took its concept a little wilder. But having said that, you could see that it was playing a different game. And one that wasn't so over the top with its camp and its gothic kind of template, and offered up more of like this, I guess, kind of sadistic teen romp with a heart to it. It's a movie I want to see again sooner than later, just because I think I was spending so much of my time readjusting those expectations that I wasn't just sitting back and enjoying it, even though I really, really did. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a lot more for me to go back and enjoy. There you go. There's my brief recap on whether I liked it.
I like it though. I am totally with you with Malignant kind of giving me some preconceived notions before going into M3GAN, just because Malignant was so unexpected for me. Like it had that early 2000s energy where like Dark Castle remake energy where anything goes, and it was like it just kept topping itself with how bizarre it was as the movie went on. And I think it changed into like 3 or 4 different movies by the time Malignant came to its conclusion, where I felt like I'd watched a little bit of every single horror genre subgenre out there. And M3GAN, I feel like, is a little more streamlined. It's like the story's tighter. It's like, it doesn't mean that it's not afraid to let its hair down and get a little weird at times, but I feel like it's a little more focused than Malignant, which could, your mileage may vary depending on how much you liked how all over the place Malignant goes and how bold it is in its approach. But for me, I think now I feel like my biggest takeaway from seeing M3GAN when it comes to Malignant is I want to go back and rewatch Malignant, because I remember like Brian and I we weren't as in love with it as the rest of the Corpse Club team when we first talked about it.
Crazy. You guys are crazy.
And now I'm wondering, did I miss something? So I really want to go back. And so at the very least, M3GAN has made me reevaluate or made me want to go back and reevaluate Malignant, because I love what Cooper did with this movie and just what she did with the script, and, just kind of being like, still being very weird at times, but also delivering a really kind of tight horror story that has a very solid beginning, middle, and end, and definitely leaves things open too.
Yeah. I think I think what helps it in this case is its traditional structure.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very solid, because otherwise the premise is, it's the same, and there are parallels, of course. I mean, it's the same thing with Child's Play. I mean, there has to be a certain level of believability to what's happening, or it has to be presented that way. And I think, and it's a word you and I like to use a lot, there's an earnestness.
Yes.
We use it when we talk about one of our favorite topics, Canadian rock and roll from the late 70s and early 80s.
Which is the perfect word for that era and genre of music.
Sure. And it's an earnestness, and there's an earnestness to M3GAN as well. I think in the way that it deals with trauma, with childhood trauma, with loss.
Yes.
With death. It actually deals with those things in a way that isn't heavy-handed, that still doesn't take away from the plot of a killer doll, essentially, that's gone haywire, right? It brought back memories as well of Deadly Friend by Wes Craven.
Oh yeah. The basketball scene.
The basketball scene. Again, another film that's earnest. But I will say that M3GAN has a much better script than Deadly Friend does. But it's so well done. The script is really good. The direction by Gerard Johnston is solid, not flashy at all, doesn't get in the way of the story. really good with actors, and he did Housebound, which was a popular horror flick from what, 5-6 years ago,
it's
maybe longer.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's like around 2014, somewhere in there, 2013.
So there you go. What is time, right? It's almost probably 10 years. It's probably almost 10 years ago by now or something.
But, that was 2014. My goodness. Yeah, which feels like 2 years ago, but it was actually 9 years ago.
But I think what's great too is he understands the material completely, and he gets the tone just right, because it's really kind of a miracle in that it could either go super sappy, right? With its earnestness, it could either go like super sappy, or it could go like super cheesy. And yet it because of that earnestness, though, it actually ends up being a really affecting a story of an aunt, trying to have this connection with her niece. It's just a really cool movie.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with it still being like a very grounded movie in some ways, with its message about, technology stepping into the parental role and kind of taking over that role from the parent, and kind of like children almost getting addicted to having that technology always at their fingertips, or just how M3GAN kind of just takes that role from Gemma in the movie was very interesting. And there's there's a lot of social commentary, but like you said, it's never hitting you over the head with it. It's just all very organic to the story. And at the same time, with the screenplay and the direction by Gerard Johnstone, they never like forget what kind of a movie they're trying to make. Like they kind of embrace some of the more ridiculous elements, and like how out there the story is, and just how M3GAN is portrayed, and how she has this kind of pep in her step, and like this kind of sassiness to her that really comes across. And I think they kind of lean into that enough where it just balances out everything really nicely. And I think it's like the movie of memes. Like there's so many GIFs and memes that we're getting out of this movie that I think really took social media by storm, and just leaned into some of the like sillier stuff, but then also not getting away from like some really high stakes when it comes to, trauma and just deadly encounters with M3GAN and things like that.
And I think, Kelly Cooper's writing I think there's a lot of layers to it too. I think this story is also, while it is an affecting, as we said, relationship story between an aunt and a niece, it's also a commentary, I think, on these kinds of stories in not only horror films, but in young adult tales, because there's a tangible kind of young adult feel to this movie that's very intentional. I've seen a lot of people in social media refer to the film as like a gateway horror for younger kids, to kind of introduce them to horror. And yeah, I think that was very much intentionally done, to see, presenting a story for this audience, to see where is your, how much can you get away with, but what is the threshold for between young adult and adult when it comes to fiction, right? And horror fiction.
Yep.
Where is that line? And I think M3GAN like loves playing with that. And speaking of herself, the girl, Amy Donald, who plays M3GAN doesn't do the voice, but she's the vessel, the body, is just great. And Jenna Davis, who does the voices, is terrific too. It's a combination of the two of them. So good, like sells it 150%. And apparently she was the one who came up with the dance in the hallway. Wow. They wanted her, they told her do something, to do anything she wanted, right? Do something in this take before you chase him down the hallway. So she came up with these moves. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. And trust me when I say I have not verified that information.
It does make a good story though. And
sure.
It's interesting too, like you mentioned, it being gateway horror, and maybe this will be our transition into spoiler territory. So sound the alarm and step out for a little bit if you don't want to hear these spoilers. But it's PG-13, but there's still, I think the kills in the movie are still very, disturbing in their own way, and they get the point across without, I mean, you could have definitely shown more gore and that kind of stuff. And I think there is some of that on the cutting room floor, according to what Cooper has said in one of the interviews that she did. But I feel like there's enough there where you kind of get the feeling that you don't want to mess with M3GAN. I mean, you get just her mental manipulation, but then spraying the chemicals on the neighbor, the hallway chase scene with the elevator stabbing. We see her almost kill one of the lab technicians with the choking and everything. So I mean, it's kind of like more Terminator action type stuff, but I feel like they did enough where it didn't feel like we were getting cheated out of any essential stuff that we needed.
That's it exactly. You didn't sit there and go, it was great, but it was missing this, or I wish they had shown that. Like, you didn't feel like anything was truncated or clipped or anything like that. It was designed the way it was designed, for a reason. This is the movie that, they wanted to make. And I think they made it. And I think the point they were trying to make was you can make something scary, actually like effective and well made and everything. And it doesn't have to be a hard R at all, right? There's a lot of we've discussed this a million times. There's a lot of very effective PG-13 and PG horror films.
Oh, for sure.
How the 70s, most of the horror films were PG in the 70s because the MPAA would just, rubber stamp them through. It seemed like thematically compared to what would happen, today. So perspective, sure. But M3GAN is very much aimed towards a young adult audience, and it really is a really good gateway horror.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because this is kind of this first big movie between like James Wan's Atomic Monster Productions and Jason Blum's Blumhouse Productions, and they've kind of come together and they're starting to produce things together. And M3GAN kind of being the first movie out of the gate of this new like partnership between them has shown that, they make a really, really successful team. I mean, I think it's brought in at the time of this recording over 126 million at the box office. And so people are showing up for gateway horror, and it's going to be really interesting to see too what comes out of this kind of financial creative partnership between these two companies, because M3GAN's gotten them off to such a great success. But it's just nice to see though, like you said, like a PG-13 movie, and then you can always get the unrated director's cut on home video. I mean, that's one of the incentives to usually get something on, Blu-ray or 4K or DVD if you're still rocking the DVD. player, I mean, it's it's a nice treat to kind of unwrap some of the additional content. So I think it's going to be a good balance moving forward. But I think one of the cool parts of this too is that in the movie with M3GAN, we see it kind of turns into battle bots at the end in that third act with Gemma's robot, which I was just waiting for like the whole time. I was so happy that they actually used the robot that she had built like in college, and then her niece ends up using it like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. What did you think of the whole robot showdown there?
Well, I mean, again, right?
Did you stand up and cheer?
Well, like I said, but it's not only is it an effective, action horror film, but it's also a commentary on them, right? I mean, when you first see that robot, you know he's coming back for the finale, right? Like,
oh yeah,
it's like, oh, what, that thing taking up half the room?
Yeah, and it costs half our production budget.
Yeah. That old thing. Oh yeah, maybe later we'll see him. It's hard to say.
That would have been fascinating if somehow it just did not factor into the rest of the story and we were just left to wonder why they did that.
Well, then that would just be, that's filed under negligent screenwriting.
But I'm so happy they did. It was, because it kind of felt too like that Aliens power loader moment with,
of course,
with Ripley.
It's 100% what it is.
Get away in a garage,
in a garage, but in a garage,
the suburban Aliens moment that we all didn't know that we needed.
That's right. Put that on your box from Derek Anderson, Daily Dead.
There's a pull quote for you.
Yeah, there's your pull quote.
And what did you? So of course, it leaves it open at the end. We have this tease that even though M3GAN, the robot, has been kind of pulled apart and even tried to come back as the top, like Terminator style, crawling across the floor. Like that version of her has been defeated. But then we get the tease at the end that Gemma's like, her like Siri
nightlight
type,
or whatever. Yeah.
Her like home monitoring system.
Yeah.
That has, taken on a life of its own. And it's kind of implied that M3GAN is like her essence lives on through this.
What?
Yeah. So like this Alexa type, device. Do you think because we do know a sequel's been greenlit now.
Well, yeah, it's already coming. It's already coming.
Do you think she goes like starts turning everything? Like, how do you think she returns if she's able to kind of hop around through the matrix, if you will?
Well, here's the thing. It's a wonderful idea because it reminds me of, have you ever seen Demon Seed from 1977?
Ooh, no, but I'm familiar because it's based on a Dean Koontz book from the 70s, right?
It is. Yes, I did a dust off. I did a dust off on it many centuries ago. And what happens there is a home computer system that's linked through the whole house, takes over the house and locks in the wife of the creator of the system.
Okay. So
and impregnates her.
Oh. Well, that is certainly...
hence the demon seed.
Right.
Seed. And then they have a bionic baby.
Wow.
It's trippy, man. It's a Donald Camel movie, and it's wild. I definitely suggest you check it out. Robert Vaughn is the voice of the horny robot.
Interesting. Okay. So you think?
But anyway, it brings up. It would seem to me technologically to go with a story like that you'd have to get really ingenious in how it gets pulled off, right? Because you either have to have, correct me if I'm wrong, a total collapse of technology for something bad to happen, or that technology has to be corrupted somehow. Yes.
Yep.
How do you achieve that in this day and age, right? Or because it's so everywhere that how do you make, what's the hook? What's the angle? What's the threat? Where does the threat come from?
Right. Yeah, because it's so omnipresent. It's technology is already everywhere too right now. So, can she hop to cell phones? Can she manifest in different ways? Is it restricted to Gemma's devices? Like, there's a lot.
Yeah, well, it's
a lot of questions to dive into.
Yeah, and if you're setting something in the modern age, if you're like doing a slasher in the modern age, there's so many other factors if you're setting it in modern day that makes it so hard to make a good slasher now. Again, unless you build in that technology to the plot itself, right? As a device.
And it feels like with M3GAN too, they were kind of dealing with almost like a near future, like just with some of the capabilities they had with the AI. And like, even though we're seeing some of this, in our own world, it felt like they were almost one step ahead in some ways with just where technology was at. But maybe it wasn't full on Blade Runner though either. So
no. And but back again at the same time, there really wasn't a lot of like eyebrow raising by me anyway towards what they were doing with the AI. Right. I wasn't like shocked at all, and nor do I think, like you said, that they're that far away from something like it getting this good.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is almost scary in a way, right? Because it's so.
But how close is it? Well, put it this way: they still have to use a real actress.
Well, yeah,
to play the robot, right?
True. So we're not quite there yet, but it could be around the corner.
Yeah, around the corner, not in our lifetime. Well, maybe yours.
And we'll set
that timer.
Yeah, exactly. It's only time will tell, and time is very much in a time warp. But it and I do remember in the
very Ed Woodsian of you.
I'm a poet, Scott. I'm just a poet. We also saw Kurt, the overworked like assistant in the movie. He was downloading like the M3GAN designs into his computer. So I'm wondering, does another company, like a rival toy company, just make their own army of M3GANs? And who knows, or like, I guess you wouldn't call it, maybe you'd have a different name, but like maybe she comes back in a different kind of doll or something like that. Like, I feel like you could lean into it and kind of make her the next Chucky in a way, where you maybe have slightly different versions of M3GAN, but she still has that killer doll look to her. So there's a lot there that they could do.
I think the important thing to remember, Derek, is that no matter what we say, they're not going to pay us to write it.
Are you sure about that, Scott?
I'm fairly certain. I think they're going to go with this Akela Cooper. I think they're going to stick with her. It seems like a fairly safe bet.
Well, I would hope so, because she's been doing a good job. So
she's doing okay for herself. Yeah, so it's probably in better hands than a couple cock-ups like you and me. Just saying.
We'll just we'll come up with our own like killer slime movie or some other type of toy, Slinkies or something. We'll workshop it. Yeah. Okay.
Killer Slinky.
As you can see, I'm just full of mediocre yet entertaining ideas. So
I'm trying to come up with a portmanteau for
They could wrap around, there's a lot of, an AI slinky type machine. There could be some possibilities there.
Yeah, but I'm trying to like come up with a word like slinky killer, like sliller, like nothing.
Like a 70s tagline on the poster.
Yeah, like Killdozer, right? Like Killdozer was a TV movie, not a really good one, even though it came from the tube on it.
Nice.
But so, yeah.
You wouldn't recommend it for a triple feature with like Christine in the car and Killdozer?
I would say Killdozer would be the lesser of those three. Yeah. So maybe there you go. So the Slinky Killer, they don't take the technology too seriously in M3GAN. And again, that's intentional. That's part of the design. It's the technology is just the MacGuffin to get you through these events. It doesn't matter what is going wrong with M3GAN, just that things are. And but I think it is telling that the technology isn't dwelled on as much, and that the focus is on the human side of the story instead of let's say if this story was told by James Cameron, there may be more focus on how the technology meshes with the real and everything, right? Whereas M3GAN is about getting through that to get to the story, the emotional heart of the story, right? Of the relationship.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think and I'm glad too, because I think Allison Williams and Violet McGraw, who plays her niece in the movie, I think they're both coming back for the sequel. So
they're
heart of the story will be intact, at least, at the beginning of the movie. So it'll be cool to see that we get those characters back as well, instead of, that a few people survived. So there's plenty of room to expand into future installments with these characters. And who knows? I mean, maybe M3GAN will become the next Chucky or, Annabelle. She's certainly an icon already. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for M3GAN.
Yeah, I mean, Chucky is a high bar, I think, just because Don Mancini has really taken, I think, that franchise in exciting and interesting places, different from where it started from, but very organically. So I think, the Child's Play template set forth by Mancini for this kind of film, if this is a kind of film, and it really is its own kind of subgenre, the killer doll film. And, these are certainly, now we're mixing in the technologically driven killer doll, right? It's a little bit of everything. It's a bit of your killer kids and your technology run amok, all combined, right? And so I think if they build an interesting mythology with it, like Mancini has done with Chucky, even though there were times along the way where you weren't sure where he was going to go with it, but it all ends up making a sense now. I think M3GAN has the chance, who knows, to be as good as that.
Yeah, maybe we get a sequel down the line that's like M3GANs, because there's multiple M3GANs that are out there, and who knows? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
So that could be the fourth movie. Could be M3GANs, because it already has the 3 in the title and then the S on the end. So it's the fourth movie.
Right. Yep. Instead of the M3GAN, which you can save for like 5 or 6, when you want to throw in the in front of it. But it's, as we've learned over the years with other franchises, you can get very creative, or you can even just straight up repeat different titles and as long as enough time has gone by, you're okay. So
Hey, I could release a song tomorrow called Stairway to Heaven.
you wouldn't even call it the Stairway to Heaven. Oh, right.
No,
You would just,
you can call it Stairway to Heaven.
Okay.
You can't trademark a title. So I could put out a song called Stairway to Heaven. Now it can't sound like it's got to be like a polka about a Yeti on the side of a mountain or something, right? That doesn't sound anything like Led Zeppelin. But the point is, and there really is no point anyway. There you go.
Maybe we could call it Escalator to Heaven just to give it a little different vibe. Like,
but you don't have to, though. That's the thing.
You don't have to work hard on this ride.
I mean, a Scream. Sure, we had one Scream. Now we have another Scream. Halloween did it. How many times?
Oh, yeah.
3 times. 3 times. Who cares?
Right. As long as they have fun with it in the end, it's all good. It's, the title's just, there's a whole movie beyond the title. So
no, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I got the title is the one. Actually, the title is the one thing that I kind of take issue with, because I think the title should be special. When I say take issue, I'm not losing any sleep. Let's get things correct here. I'm just saying it's crossed my mind. I like a good title. I think it's a missed opportunity to not give something the best title that it should have. Have you like watched a movie, or sometimes even like reading a piece of fiction or a book or something, and you go, wow, it was really cool, but then like the title doesn't necessarily reflect what the book or the piece was about, or it's like, well, you could have come up with a better title than that. For what? Like, it just seems like some titles are chosen so hastily, or with so clearly an eye towards only the marketing and not, like the big picture of this franchise or whatever, that, the shit that we care about, right? Sadly.
I could see where you're coming from for that. So then you almost are like, do I recommend this to people? Because the title sounds so misleading.
Oh,
so
no, totally. Because what I'm saying is, it's just like, it's sad. It's a missed opportunity. It's like, you've mislabeled your work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels just, like I said, it just feels sad. You feel sad for him when a title is not everything, that it could be. And the reason I'm saying it is because you get, when you get Scream 17 years after, or 20, sorry, shit. 27 years after the original, or 26, whatever it was.
Wow. 25. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, and you call it the exact same thing, but again, they're just following Halloween's lead, right? It's not even a reboot. So I see that as an excuse for using the same title. You're making a sequel, but calling it the same thing. It's just strange times. But like I said, it's just one of those little naggy things in the craw that you just wish someone looked at the big picture, or and you know what, and I'm sure someone did, and I'm sure we have more creative titles out there than Scream 6, right, with the Roman numerals and the M. It's
the
like
blood in the letters. At least they're acknowledging the 6 now, though. They're not like ashamed of it. They're embracing it a little more. That's true. Instead of calling it Scream 2, I think that would have been a little much. Well, like, okay, well, maybe we need to go a different direction if we're gonna, redo the entire chronology. But especially
anyway,
because
far be it from me to be that guy. I'm not going to harp on titles in anything, or Roman numerals or numbers or anything like that. just because, why bother?
Exactly. And, I think that's a good segue for our next.
Just our way of saying no segue at all.
That's a good segue. Unless you have any final thoughts on
bricked you.
M3GAN.
No, that was me. I just bricked you like 100%.
Hey, that's all right. I'm like the Kool-Aid man. I go through that wall. I'm energized. Let's do this.
I'm like, Derek, let's go. And then I'm like right over the backboard. And you're like, what?
Oh, I'm driving. Now the steering wheel came off. But that's all right. This is a Corpse Club engine that keeps running. And we are driving right into our next segment here, which Scott, you teased at the beginning of this episode. And it's something we haven't done for a while, which I'm really excited that we're going to dive back into our Corpse Club book club, because we have, like, you mentioned this is such a great time for horror, for watching horror, TV shows, movies, playing video games. But I think we're also living in just an amazing time for horror publishing, because every month it seems like for the last few years, there's just been amazing book after amazing book. And we're, the last half of 2022 and the first part of 2023 is certainly no exception, because we've seen a lot of really cool titles come out, including one that I believe you just finished pretty much at the buzzer from one of our favorite authors around these parts.
Oh, it wasn't even at the buzzer. You and I were talking and I was finishing the book 5 minutes before we pressed record. Yes, I just finished reading Ghost Eaters, a very aptly titled novel by Clay McLeod Chapman. And yeah, we talk about fresh, hot off the press. I literally just finished it, and it's a terrific book. It's a terrific novel. It's a novel about addiction, but it is not a morose novel. It's not a downbeat novel. It is scary. It is humorous. It is beautifully written. And it's basically about this. It is about a group of college friends who drift apart after college, and they were all kind of literary buddies. And there's a leader of the group called Silas, and everybody loved Silas. And then after college, our heroine, Erin, her and Silas in college had been an item. We saw the prologue of the novel is basically a trip, hallucinogenic trip that the four of them take in a graveyard.
Oh, wow.
To kind of set off some of the themes within the work. Now, everything is told first person through Erin post college. She's about to embark on a career in publishing at a low level position. And she gets in contact, I should say she's still in contact with a couple of her friends from college. But Silas, it turns out, is dead. And this is just all set up. I'm not going to give anything away whatsoever.
No spoiler alert.
Spoilers. There are ghosts in this tale. So as I said, it's a story about addiction. So on many different levels, but what ends up happening is we discover that Silas and Tobias, or Toby, as he's alternately called in the book, have created this drug based from mushrooms called Ghost that, when taken, lets you actually get in contact with ghosts, actual ghosts.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just going to stop the story there because obviously a lot happens, and I'm not going to give you any plot details, just the setup. It takes many unexpected turns that I did not see coming. As I said, it's beautifully written. There were moments when I stopped and made mental notes of the pages for certain passages that I just thought were alternately take your breath away / make you jealous. When you go, oh, that's a great line. No, not jealous at all. Just envious. No. He's a great writer. Really good stuff. I'm going to read Whisper Down the Lane next. Ooh, from him.
Nice.
But that's not my next book up. And sorry, just a couple more things on Ghost Eaters, because I could talk about it for a very long time. As I said, it deals with grief and addiction and loss, but it's ultimately optimistic, with a great ending. The landing has been stucketh.
Yes. That's always crucial, because that can be a hard thing.
And it's a very, and I don't mean this in like a marketing sense whatsoever, but it's a very cinematic novel.
Oh, nice.
Because the characters are so well drawn, that you practically see them like ghosts standing in front of you. It's just really well written, and the story is great. And like I said, it deals with dark subjects, but in a way that makes you appreciate life and maybe not want to hang around with the ghosts.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So awesome. And again, I'm reading. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm reading a lot more just because I'm writing a lot more, and they say, to be a better writer, you have to be a better reader. So I've honestly wanted to find who I've hear from my peers, and just from social media, who's really doing it and doing it well. Right. Out there. And so that was one of the first ones that I picked up. I got me some Paul Tremblay on deck as well. I have, awesome. But my next book is going to be Adam Caesar's Clown in a Cornfield.
Yes, I love that book. I think you're in for a treat. I haven't read the second one yet, but that one is also out now too.
Friendo Lives, yes.
Friendo Lives.
And I think he's just gotten a green light for a third, and there's a movie coming.
It's a good time to get on the clown train.
Yeah, so I'm getting on the clown train next. That's my next choo-choo stop, as it were.
That is awesome.
Everyone go read Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod. Chapman, and as they say frequently in the book, get haunted.
Ooh, that's such a great tagline. And if you do like, obviously it's not, it sounds a lot different than Ghostbusters, but if you do like that type of horror, like can you see, can you see someone who really is like a diehard Ghostbusters fan, or that just that kind of subgenre getting into this as well? Or is it kind of like a totally subversive take on what you might expect with the paranormal and the afterlife? Because it sounds really unique too, and just how it approaches death and interacting with, ghosts and that, what from what we might usually expect. No Slimer, right?
No Slimer. And again, I don't want to, give any spoilers about it, but there's a lot of interaction between there's a lot of interaction, and I won't say what kind of interaction, but there's a lot of interaction between the dead and the living.
Okay.
In the book.
Okay.
Or is there?
Oh, that raised an eyebrow.
Well, I mean,
okay.
The narrative is told from, again, like I said, it's a first person narrative. There's like a lot of mushrooms being consumed in the novel, and other great stuff it touches on too is cultum and the cult of personality, and how addictions play such a big part in cults. There's it touches on so many great things, but again, not in an obvious way, just through the story. So it's, like any great story, it only gets better by the experiences you can bring to it, right? If you can.
Nice.
I think for me, some of the best stories that I enjoy are you find some kind of commonality with some element within the book, right? And if you don't even have to say you're an addict, but if you have an addictive personality, and I think most people have an addictive personality in one sense or another, right? It's got you covered.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is getting bumped up on my to read list because I've been wanting to read Clay McLeod Chapman stuff for a while, and then we actually got to see him do a live reading from the remaking at the Overlook Film Festival, and that was just one of the best the best live reading I've ever seen. Just an amazing performance. So I can only imagine like reading, an entire book, and he only seems to get better too, from what I've heard. So Whisper Down the Lane, I know he's got another book coming out with Quirk Books. So there's a lot. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Clay in the future, especially when maybe we'll start to see some adaptations too. So I'm really excited to dig in, and thank you for the recommendation.
Eat away, like we say in the book, get haunted.
I love that. I want a t-shirt with that on it. And also you mentioned Paul Tremblay in your to read pile, which is a nice segue into what I've been reading recently, which is Tremblay's The Cabin at the End of the World. Yeah.
And again, this one is one that I have to put on my list because honestly, I only became aware of, I had heard of the book, but I had only became aware of the premise through the trailer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and especially with the latest trailer.
Yes. A little more is revealed in that one.
Yeah. And just knowing what that story is just so ingenious to me.
Yeah.
That I'm dying to read the movie. I mean, the movie looks good. And I think a big part of that for me is just because I think the story is so insane in only like the best ways possible.
Yeah, I'm I'm only about 70 pages in, but it's living up to every expectation I had based on, we have this M. Night Shyamalan adaptation of it coming out in February called Knock at the Cabin. And if you've seen the trailers, then you kind of get the premise is that these two husbands and their like 7-year-old daughter are vacationing at this isolated cabin in the woods on a lake, and they're far away from any other civilization and just enjoying their kind of unplugging vacation, no technology, that kind of thing. And this stranger comes up to the daughter in the field, and in the movie, he's played by Dave Bautista, who I think is a perfect choice for this character. And he says like, "Hey, I need to talk to you and your dad's, and I need your help." Essentially says like, "I need your help saving the world." And soon 3 other strangers come to the cabin. And basically the premise is that they are there to save the world, and the only way to do that is for the family of 3 to decide which, like, they essentially have to decide who among
one
them
of them has to die.
One of them has to die. Like,
they
have to sacrifice, like willingly sacrifice themselves to save the world. And what's so great about this concept is like they're in the middle of nowhere, and so they're like, but these people are so adamant that they need to do this. And then the question becomes, well, are they telling the truth? Are they just like psychopaths? Are they serial killers? Or are they actually here, like, just telling the truth, and that they do have to follow this kind of insane request to save the world? And in the new trailer, you kind of see them showing like footage on the TV about what may or may not be happening, and like a plane in the sky. And so I'm really curious. I haven't gotten to that. They've taken over the house at the part that I'm at, but I'm really, hopefully by the next time we record, I can do a follow-up report on the rest of the book. But it's just riveting. And Tremblay, I had read one other book of his previously called A Head Full of Ghosts, which
and that's the book that I have that I haven't cracked open yet.
Okay, I think you're really gonna like that one, because it's
I don't want to do 2 ghost stories in a row though, because I'm not gonna lie, Clay's ghosts are not really my thing. A little unfriendly, a little needy, little handsy. For me,
not quite Casper.
So I just want like a little buffer in between. Right? Okay. So I'll go Ghost Eaters, then I'll do a little friendo, a little young adult slasher action. Nice, cleanse that palate.
Oh yes.
And then maybe I'll jump into A Head Full of Ghosts. We'll see.
And A Head Full of Ghosts 2 does some really interesting exorcism type stuff that I think you'll be I'll be curious to see your reaction. But again, it's kind of like, what Tremblay does so well, I think, is he puts you in these positions as a reader, and you wonder like, okay, how much of this is real? How much of this is, just a figment of someone's imagination? Like, who is someone playing someone else? Like, what game is being played? And I'm just so excited I'm so excited that Shyamalan's directing this too, because I think he's the perfect director for this type of story. And I'm really excited that we're getting this sooner rather than later. And it kind of forced me to read the book, because I don't mind reading a book after I've seen the movie version of it, but if I can, I try to read the book first.
If I have a choice,
yeah, because it's just that incentive of like, I don't know what's going to happen as I turn the pages, rather than kind of knowing what I'm getting into. So I'm really excited that it forced me to kind of pick up another book, and I'm also trying to kind of read more this year too. And I think it's there's so many great new authors and then older stuff too that I want to go back and catch up on. So it's been a good excuse to dive back into some of that stuff.
Yeah, and then we're only here in like mid-January, but I mean, there's probably going to be, potentially interesting nonfiction as
yes.
well coming up in the year.
I think you might be very familiar with one of these nonfiction.
Oh yeah, like I haven't been talking about this forever. Yeah, my book, A Cut Below, will be coming out later on this year from McFarland. We all know that, and when I don't have any more new details, when I do, I will pass them on to you. I do know the official subtitle now is, so it's A Cut Below, but the subtitle is officially A Celebration of B Horror Movies, 1950s to 1980s.
Nice. So yes. We have a year range now too.
Yes.
Which is going kind of directly off of what you covered in, like, that era that you covered in Driving Dust-Off's column on Daily Dead, where it's anything that would have played.
It ain't no coincidence, Bubba.
Wait a minute. You mean to say that they're connected in some way?
There is a connection.
I'm so excited. It's been awesome to see, like, Heather Wixson with her makeup effects books.
I know, her second book,
which is, I mean, the photos, the stories in there, it's been amazing. And then to see you also now shining a spotlight and really probably introducing people. I mean, there's a lot of the cinephiles out there that you might be familiar with these, but even looking through them, there are movies that I was like, I'd never heard of this, like seeing the table of contents. And I can only imagine you're going to be responsible for introducing a whole new generation to only the best that cinema has to offer over the years. So I'm really excited to see the reactions.
You know what I mean? If that happens, wonderful. The whole purpose of the book is just to offer people, I hope, a fun read on, if they're familiar with the movies. I hope they just get a fun read out of it, and maybe a slightly different perspective. Who's to say? But yeah, if it touches some new readers who are familiar with some of these films, well, that it would make my day completely. That's why I started the column all those years ago. That for that and the money.
Living that lifestyle, Scott.
living that ballin' publishing life. This. I just wanted to make a fun and a fun read. I hope it's an informative read. Again, there's not a lot more I have for details, other than when I do have more info, I will pass it along to everyone in the Corpse Club and on Daily Dead, as I have a feeling we're going to be closely tied in the closer and closer we get to launch. So,
yes.
So yay books. Let's hear it for books.
Let's hear it for the books. Yes.
Let's hear it for books.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be diving, as you mentioned, ever deeper into A Cut Below as we get closer throughout the year to the release. So I'm excited to jump in with you more on that in the future. But in the meantime, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Corpse Club. We want to thank Brian, our engineer, for helping us out each and every episode. And as always, we want to thank our listeners, including those of you who have signed up for a Corpse Club membership. Make sure to visit corpseclub.com to check out our latest episode. You can also sign up to become a member, which will give you access to all sorts of ghoulish goodies, from our t-shirt and pin to the ability to suggest an episode topic. Also, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Every rating and review really does help. You can also find us on Google Play, SoundCloud, and all of your favorite podcast providers. If you want to get in touch, you can reach us anytime at contact@corpseclub.com, or on Twitter @DailyDeadNews or @CorpseClub, and on Instagram and Facebook under Corpse Club. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay scary.